Hey guys, my name is Mike Catalan, and recently I just went top 16 at YCS Sydney 2025 with Phantom Knights of all things. I went top 32 at YCS Sydney 2024 with the same deck, so I'm pretty happy with my performance and to do a little bit better this year. I know a lot of you have probably seen my list already, whether it be on YouTube or posted online on YGA Pro. But I wanted to make this video for a more in-depth sort of discussion as to why I played what I played, why I did my ratios, what engines I played and what engines I didn't play. So yeah, let's get into the main deck. The PK engine is pretty standard. I played 3 Taunt Scales. Because we're not playing Adventure in this deck, you can play 3 of this because it's a good draw, being able to null summon it and use the effect. I played 3 Boots, this is the main extender of the deck. 2 Cloak, this is the best graveyard effect, being able to search any of your monsters. And so you could up this to 3 considering we're playing a maxed out Horus engine, or a pretty much maxed out Horus engine. With this card being a 1 card, 3 discards, being able to go this into Fogblade and discarding all 3. But I didn't want to play 3 for this event because it's really clunky unless you draw this along with it. Like it's not good in your hand unless you have a way of discarding it. And if you can just get this card in your graveyard, it's not exactly full combo because you go banish this to search like this. But Taunt Scales can't end up dumping another Cloak to search for Boots for an extender. So I didn't want to play 3 of it, but it definitely needs more than 1, even though we try to recur it every time we do our combo. We played 1 Raggy Bloods and 1 Stained Greeds. These are both extenders. A lot of people don't play Stained Greeds, but I'm a very for Stained Greeds kind of person, solely because it turns having hands like any PK plus a Boots into full combo without having to discard a trap. Whether if you didn't play Stained Greeds, you're going to have to go Taunt Scales discarding a trap to bring back your second level 3. So I do really like this card. I did play 3 Fogblade as my only trap. I really like Fogblade, just Fogblade, because I think Wings and Shade Bringing, they're just not needed. They're really bad to draw. And with Fogblade, if I draw it, I can either discard it for the additional graveyard effect, or I can just keep it in my hand and use it as disruption. And I feel like that was really important for the format. So that was it for the PKs. Not much I'd really change about the engine. I did end up siding down 1 Fogblade, 1 Boots, and 1 Taunt Scales going second almost every time, just to take out a little bit of engine and increase my non-engine to help me push through. Honorary PK, played 3 Turtle, 1 Takatumborg. This engine's crazy, being able to go into your Cherubini without actually normal summoning and off 1 card only. I love this card. It's an amazing card to push with, especially with Cherubini not being too interactable. You can usually bait out a lot of stuff going second with just this. And this is full combo in just by itself. So yeah, really liked these cards. I hate drawing this card, but it's not the worst brick in the deck compared to the Horus names, solely because you have 3 different engines that have wins, being Terratop, obviously, Happy from the Horus, and you can even go into a Leviair and special summon this as another level 3 extender. So yeah, this package was insane though. I never really sided out any of the Terratops just because I really wanted to see it. The best engine in the entire deck is the Horus cards. These cards were insane in this format. I feel like the only thing that they struggle against is Malice, being able to banish your 3 names out of your bin with Whitebinder. But against Ryziel, even though Kingsuck trades badly with Detonator, I feel like these cards were an instant win against Ryziel if it resolved. Being the fact that you can special summon these back every turn and without activating anything, and then you can attack into a Detonator and send it in the damage step so they can't respond and they can't protect. It's also really nice to just keep these bodies up so that if they try and interrupt you with something like a Detonator, you can just trigger 1, 2 to 3 Horus monsters, and if you trigger them all and they all resolve, you're just winning the game. And they can't really be cross-negated like these 2. Because you just line it up so it's like chain 1, chain 2, or chain 1, chain 2, and then whatever you do, you just do Imseti's the last chain so it baits out the cross. Because if they don't, you can send the Detonator or you can send the cross itself and these 2 will resolve. I did max out on the bricks. It makes it a little less consistent, but it makes the engine a lot more higher ceiling. And I feel like this engine won me games in itself. It has an amazing Mitsurugi matchup because Kingsock will protect them from being destroyed by non-targeting effects, aka Armano's board wipe effect. And I felt like if you just got around the detonator, you're just winning the game if you set this up, because there's no way for them to actually out the Kingsock if you don't do anything on their turn to trigger the detonator. Because of that, we played 3 Kingsock. I wanted to max out on the names of the Kingsock names because, like I said, this is the best engine in the deck. I really wanted to see the engine, which is why I played 6 copies of Getting to Kingsock. It also makes it a little more consistent, having 6 good cards to 2 bad cards. It's the same ratio as the Terratop, being 3-1. So I love this engine. I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't add any. You could cut the Wamatef if you didn't want to brick on it a little less. But I felt like it was needed for the event. I played Fiendsmith. So 3 Engraver, 1 Lacuma, 1 Lorry, 2 Tract, and 1 Paradise. This is a very standard lineup for the engine. I feel like everybody who's playing this engine is playing this lineup. I never felt like I wanted less of this, and I never felt like I needed more of this. When siding, sometimes going second, I would take out 1 Tract and sometimes 1 Engraver if the matchup wasn't that good. But I typically wanted to keep at least the 3 Engravers and sometimes take out the Tract. Sometimes, very rarely, will I find myself taking this card out going second. I feel like it's a crazy card. I just take it out against the all gas matchups because I don't want to have the option of bricking. So yeah, I love this engine. A lot of people don't like this engine, but I feel like it was very needed to increase the ceiling of the deck, especially with being able to play through hand chats. Your normal PK combo gets you to two monsters that can go into this, and it's just an engine that you really need to be playing if you want to do well, I feel. That was it for the engine. It's a 48 card deck, so I wanted to play non-engine that would help me crack boards, like more high impact non-engine, because I felt like we're in a format where you need 2 to 3 hand traps minimum to be able to stop a deck's turn. And this deck being like discarding a bunch of cards or PK starting on 2 card combos, stuff like that, you didn't really have enough space to draw 3 hand traps. Because if you did, you could stop an opponent's turn, yes, but then your hand is very weak and you'd lose to 1 hand trap. So I played more high impact cards. So I played 3 Fuwalos. This is pretty standard. This card's just going to slow decks turns down, sometimes end a turn. And if they want to play through it, I had a couple people in the YCS try and take the Fuwalos challenge. It didn't really work out for them because I ended up just nibbing them and they just pretty much died. And they gave me 4 draws, and that is just enough to kill somebody. Speaking of which, yes, I did play Nib as well. I really liked Nib. I put this in last minute, took out Econ for it, and I'm very happy I did because this is another card. It's 6 cards to deal with Malice game 1 if you're going second, and that's really important because Malice is this deck's worst matchup. It's also really good if you pair it with anything else. If you pair it with this, most times against Ryzeal, they won't be going for a Fiendsmith engine, which means they won't have Caesar, which means if you can typically nid them on their 5th summon before they set up a detonator under cross, and hopefully they have no materials under duo drive. But if you don't draw 4 Wallows and they do go for the Fiendsmith engine, I did also include some Bystials to help against the Fiendsmith engine. These cards are just inherently good. Pairing it against hitting the Requiem to stop them from getting the Caesar and then nibbing on top of the duo drive effect, it's just game. It's also really good at cracking boards, really good at linking away and just when trying to send the detonator, baits out so much, and worst case scenario, these cards are also dark extenders to go into Rusty or Moon or anything like that. This is a 48 card list. If you wanted to up it to 50, you could consider adding a Boardrake and a 3rd Geoswarm. That is a very understandable change that you could make. I just didn't want to do it because I didn't want to play more than 48. I feel like 48 was a good number for this deck. Next I played 3 Droplets. This card's crazy. It's not good against Malice. Well, it is, but I take it out every time I go games 2 and 3 because it sends for cost to the graveyard, and I wanted to go in with the game plan that I'm getting shifted every game 2 and game 3 because they always draw it. So I did end up taking this card out for stuff like Lanciers, Meows, Strikes, all that stuff. But against Raziel, this card is phenomenal because just being able to negate their Detonator, sometimes their Caesar as well, and Dweller as well, just lets you set up the Kingsark. And like I said, once you set up a Kingsark against a Raziel board, they're just kind of dead. Being able to send a monster to prevent a Detonator from killing itself with an Eclipse Twins is also really nice interaction. So I felt like this card was very good, and of course the send for cost is just not a cost really for this deck because you can send any number of PK cards and you're never negging on the cost. I played 2 talents. I love talents. Talents is really good. I would never play 3 of this card because I do not want to draw 2 of it, and drawing 2 of it when you only play 2 in a 48 card deck is really rare. Still happens, but I also want to see the card, which is why I'm not playing 1. The reason I don't want to draw 2 mainly is because we're in a format, unlike last year's format, where it was acceptable to play 3 of this because there was stuff like Baron and Savage in the format, which are cards that negate the activation, meaning you can resolve 2, or you can activate 2 in 1 turn. We're in a more interactive format, so I felt like drawing 2 is just always one of them is going to breed brick. And if you end up discarding talents going into a board, then your opponent knows that you have another talent in your hand. It's a very easy read. So I wanted to just play 2 of this. But this guy was phenomenal. Being able to rip hands to see what you need to set up a board is really good, especially when you're under full alert, to see how much you actually need to commit to be able to stop their turn. And being able to threaten to take the Detonator, Caesar, Nib token, any of those is really strong. The last card in the main deck was the Black Golas. I really like this card. It's my little tech card that I put in. I wouldn't play more of this, and I really wouldn't cut this. It's amazing because its on-field effect is perfect for going first. You can stop an opponent from summoning Detonator, you can stop them from summoning Whitebinder, you can stop all of that. But the other reason I played it is because we got Torn Scales, Tracked, Imseti, Kingsark. That's 4 cards. All 3 engines being used that have effects to discard a card, and this card is amazing in the graveyard, I feel, especially when trying to break boards. If you can discard this and then you can go this cool Detonator, they can't pop for the rest of the turn. And if you have Kingsark, like, again, it's just a wraps, you know, you're just winning on the spot. Which is why I really like this. You can also go Imseti, pitch this, call Detonator, or you can call Whitebinder first action. That way they cannot banish 3 cards from the graveyard, and it makes it a lot easier for you to kill an opponent going second if you stop their best interaction against your deck. So I really liked this card. That was it for the main deck. I didn't play Adventure. I didn't play Azamina. I didn't play Fenris or like Kashtira cards. The reasoning behind the Azamina and the Adventure is the same. Yes, Adventure is really cool because it has very good synergy being able to be accessible through Cherubini. The problem is, we're in a format right now where Detonator is a card, and I wanted to increase my chances of beating that card, so I wanted to decrease the amount of engines that inherently lose to it. And going first or second, that Adventure engine just loses to it. You lose your follow-up with Fateful, your token gets popped. If they make a Detonator and you go Griffin effect to negate anything, and they chain Detonator to pop the Griffin, it doesn't negate anything, which means you're always just inherently shotgunning your Griffin, and I feel like that's just terrible. It plays way too hard into Talons, and if you don't play into Talons, then you're not doing anything with the Griffin. With the Azamina engine, it's the same thing. Going second into it, it's like going first. It's cool because it can set up an Omni Negate and a Moon before 5th summon. But the problem I have with it is that going second, you're just losing in the Detonator. And yes, Kingsark is the same thing. It's an engine that loses to Detonator, but it's the one engine that loses to Detonator, but also beats the entire Raziel deck if you set it up, which is why I felt like the Horus cards were a lot better than any of those engines, and which is why I didn't include any of those engines too, just because I wanted to make it so that I don't inherently lose to very common monsters. So that was why I didn't do that. The Kashtira cards you can play. I have a 60 card version of this deck that plays stuff like Rainbow Bridge of Salvation to search the. You can either search the Kashtira planet, or you can search the Walls of the Imperial Tomb for Horus, and then you can also search stuff like Ruby Carbuncle, which is just a cool little level 3 free discard, that kind of stuff. The only problem I have with those cards is it's a lot more to add. I cut those cards solely because I wanted to have a high chance of drawing these cards, and those engines are like cool little additions that don't actually change too much. And I feel like the ceiling of this deck is already pretty high, so I didn't need to increase the ceiling. I wanted to increase the chance of me drawing non-engine, because the non-engine is what's going to save me in the games, not just the ceiling. Which is why I didn't play any of the other engines, and I just stuck with the 3 PK Horus and Fiendsmith. The extra deck is pretty straightforward. 1 Requiem. If I had infinite space, I would 100% play 2 of this. Being hit by a Bestial really hurts in this deck. Bestials hurt in general. The reason Bestials don't hurt too much though is because you have stuff like the PK engine and the Fiendsmith engine. It makes it a lot harder for an opponent to hit the right cards. Especially if you start with one and then lead with the other afterwards, you can typically force out the Bestials. So I played 1 Requiem. 1 Moon naturally comes up. Sequence, we're playing the full Fiendsmith package, so you're going to see all of them. Cherubini, this card's nuts, being able to protect your monsters from detonator pops. It also protects itself, and you can chain something like a droplets and then send the droplets for Cherubini. Which I feel is a really nice interaction. 1 SP Lunamite, standard. 1 Rusty, also standard, comes up in combo. Dumps a PK, sets a trap, and pops a card when you summon a Dark Xyz, which helps with breaking boards with Breaksword. Agnum Day, naturally this card is insane for going for game, very easy. Levier is a flex spot. You can cut this card. I will not cut this card. I love this card. It changes so much for me. It means that going through the standard PK combo, what you'll do is you'll have 2 level 3s on field, and you can make the choice to either send one of them to graveyard and banish the other to make a moon, of which standard in standard practice you'll probably end up with having a Taunt Scales in your grave by itself, or nothing in your grave by itself. But if you play Levier, you can still get to the 2 monsters from Moon, because this will summon another monster. It'll protect your PKs underneath it from being banished by their own effects, and it will recur something like the Cloak from the banish, so it turns your follow-up being from nothing to Cloak and Taunt Scales. And that's really strong because we're playing an alternative OTK engine, being the Breaksword, Raiders Knight, Archibellion. And having Cloak and Taunt Scales in your graveyard is instant this, because you can search Boots, summon Taunt, summon this, pop this, summon 2, summon this, that summons this. And then this can really easily go for game because it gains attack equal to everything, and you can optionally skill drain permanently against whatever's on the board, which is just an insane card, and it can't be destroyed by card effects, because why not? I put this card in place of Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord and Chaos Angel. I did not miss Photon Lord, I did miss Chaos Angel. It's a really strong card, but I'm very happy that I put these cards in, because it was literally the first round of the YCS that I won. I almost lost in time to Memento, being at 1,000 life points to their 8,000 with about 1 minute and 30 seconds left in time. And after baiting their interactions with the Horus cards, I climbed up to this in about 20 seconds, because the combo is very straightforward, and punched them for about 10,000 damage. And that's what saved me. So having this engine is just insane. Plus, with the amount of Bestials going around and Imperms, Veilers, having this engine get stopped, I wanted another way of just killing somebody, because we're in a very follow-up format where every deck has so much follow-up. Whether it be a singular X to dump an Eclipse Twins is just insane follow-up, because they summon a detonator to out your disruptions, and they get searches. And then especially with Malice as well, going MTPO7 to search follow-up. It's so much. So I really wanted to capitalize this extra deck on being able to kill an opponent instead of setting up more disruptions, which is another thing that I didn't play is Dark Rebellion Xyz and Dark Requiem Xyz. I had some people mentioning those cards to me, saying that it's crazy I didn't play them. Those cards are not good in my opinion. Like, Dark Requiem is a 3 monster negate. That's really cool. That's pretty much an Apollousa. But it means that you can't search a Fogblade during a combo because your Rusty has to set the rank up. It also means you're playing a rank up, which is a terrible card to discard and a terrible card to draw, especially if you're going second. And like I said with the not playing the other engines, I do not need to increase the ceiling of this deck. It has a very high ceiling with insane follow-up plus setting up multiple layered disruptions. So I felt like Dark Requiem was just not needed at all. Caesar's very standard. We're playing the Fiendsmith engine. Zombie Vampire, this is my only rank 8 for the Horus engine, and it is amazing. Being able to mill 4, you can take non-engine, you can take like an opponent's Magnamut or your Magnamut, and you can make a Moon from there. You can hit your PKs, you can hit a Fenrir, you can hit all of this. It's just an awesome card. You can also, I've had times where I've had to hit an opponent's like Ash Blossom or Ghost Bell or something, and you can take that and it's a level 3 that you can use for Chobini, and then you have this already on the field as another Dark for Chobini plus this to make Rusty, and you can get full combo from there. Played Necroquip, naturally, but this card is insane in this deck. The draw effect will come up every single time if you want it to come up. If you don't want to just shotgun a Caesar, you can get this card to resolve every single time. You have Torn Scales that pitches for cost, which you can discard a monster. King's Hark that sends for cost, which you can send a monster. Inceti, which is sending itself. Engraver, which is sending itself. All of these cards, insane, and they trigger the Necroquip to draw. Like going in Inceti effect, pitching itself, and like a Cloak to search for a King's Hark, and then Pot of Greeting is it's amazing. It's amazing. And last card, Desiree, pretty standard. This is in the Fiendsmith engine, not too much to unpack for that one. I very much liked the extra deck. If I had space for it, I would play Chaos Angel as the last card. But every single card in this extra deck came up over the weekend, and I don't know if I would cut any of these ones for the Chaos Angel. The side deck was pretty standard. It's for the format, so this will always change. I played this, pretty standard. This is in everybody's side deck to hate against Malice. I really don't like versing the Malice. It is the worst matchup, which is why I also played Meows over Mole, Chummy, Perulia. Because again, against Ryziel, Perulia is really good, but I don't care about the Ryziel matchup. I versed, 5 of them in Swiss and 1 of them in Dotgut, and I beat every single one of them. But against Malice, I versed 2 of it in Swiss, I lost 1, won 1, and then I lost to it in top 16. So you just really need a lot more hate from Malice. I did play Lava Golem. This card's insane. You're playing the Horus engine, it doesn't care about normal summoning. You're playing the Fiendsmith engine, it doesn't care about normal summoning. You're playing PKs, and you can discard them for both the other engines. And typically, if you can get like a Cloak and a Torn Scales or anything in a Torn Scales, you can just win the game without normal summoning. Which is why I played this card. It's really good. If you verse something that's like, stupid, like Dynamorphia, or against Raid Raptors, something that puts up big bodies, you can do it against Cats, against Pearly if they overextend. You can do it into a Ryziel board to hit the Detonator plus their Caesar. You can hit it against Desiree and it won't get the send effect because there's nothing good for them to send. Like, they can send, but there's nothing good. This card's amazing, and especially against Malice, it's really funny to take this with something like a Talent, and then you can punch with it, and then you can give it back to them in the end phase, and then during their standby phase, they burn for another 1,000. And against a deck that burns itself to play, that is really strong. Played Xyz Encore. This card's amazing. I've mentioned this in almost every single profile, how good this card is. It's amazing. It's better than Ultimate Slayer in my opinion. It cannot be responded to at all. Can't really be cross-added because you can just use this first action or chain it to cross-out. It hits Dweller in draw phase. It will summon back 2 monsters against Ryziel, or summon back 2 level 4s as level 3s. I've used this to block space. Like I said in one of the profiles, that my opponent had 5 monsters on the field with one being an Armino, and when they tributed it and used the effect to summon it back, I chained this to summon back, bounce one card, and then summon back 2 more level 4s, and now they had no space and they couldn't Raigeki my board. It also summons them back as level 3s, which you can take control of them and use them to make Cherubini. Card's amazing. I would not cut this card whilst Dweller is in the format. If Dweller got banned, you could cut this card and play something like Ultimate Slayer instead, because there is no real drawback for Ultimate Slayer, other than the fact that it loses to Shifter, but no Shifter deck is really setting up Xyz right now. So yeah, really like that card. And then the last card in the side deck is Solemn Strike. This is very standard for a side deck card, being able to, it's hate against Malice, being able to stop the link 3 of any Malice board, and when you stop the link 3, the first one that they make, they typically cannot extend through, especially not through Disruption. So this card is amazing. It stops a Detonator summon, stops an Evil Swarm, not an Evil Swarm, an Exoton Knight summon. It's amazing, but I would, moving forward, cut these 3 for Solemn Judgments instead, because we're playing a deck that searches Fogblade, and Fogblade is pretty much a searchable imperm. It's the same thing that Blue Eyes does by able to search Veilers. Because of this, we're playing so much monster negates that I feel like the monster effect isn't too good, it's just the special summoning stop, which is why I would cut this for Judgment, because if you don't care about the monster effect and you're just negating the summons, you can realistically just play Judgment because it stops the summons as well, and it's good against non-engine spell and traps. So being able to stop like a Thrust or a Talons, any of those cards is really, really strong, especially against this. Being able to stop a Harpy's Feather Duster is amazing. If you have something like a King Sark, double Fogblade, and a Judgment, that's 4 spell and traps that you're just going to lose if you are... and a Strike, you're going to lose if they activate Harpy's Feather Duster, and you can't really do anything unless you made Desiree, and you never really are. But if you had Judgment, you get to keep your 2 Fogblades and your King Sark, which is amazing follow-up and great disruption. So because of that, I would cut this card for Judgment moving forward. But overall, I really like this list. I feel like it performed well. I feel like it had a decent matchup against most of the things in the format, and I would play this again. Naturally, this is like my pet deck. This is the deck that I played with for so long, and I am coming for the 3-peat next year's YCS. So yeah, let me know if you guys want to see combo videos or gameplay with this deck, so that you guys can see how it's played, what it's trying to do, what it's trying to set up, and yeah. Thanks guys, peace.